All right, so I didn't cover putting these bearings in. I mean, look, this bearing here, and what we're doing today is just a quickie, but we're gonna finish up this rear part of the case. This thing presses in really light. And then you got these retainers and these two torque screws. Loctite those. There's a torque spec on these, but screws like this, I go gentle hand tight. I don't know, I don't have issues torquing, and I'm cautious not to over torque, especially in aluminum. Here's what I use. Believe it or not, I use this anti-seize and just a little bit of it, and I coat the edge, and when my bearings draw in, they just draw in smooth. So this one presses in really simple. This one right here is a little harder. Notice on one side, I'm trying to focus, but it's not focusing. On one side there's a flat end, on the other end it's rounded. So when I took this out, the flat end that you can see the actual bearing numbers is facing up. So flat end up, and then the rounder end down. So what I have is, I had this bearing installation tool, and this tool goes inside the bearing. Now I didn't have this idler gear on yet, in the bearing, and I just press it down, and I pressed it. It presses flush with the aluminum case. What's interesting is my bearing was pressed all the way to the bottom, and it was countersunk a mil, half a mil. So it doesn't say, I just used the tool and I pressed it flush. I don't think that's an issue, because if it's countersunk and some gears or some shafts are rubbing against this case, I would see lines in it. Obviously it wasn't. So, you know, we'll see when it goes back together, but I think that's fine. And then you just assemble this piece here. Really, really simple. Go back the way you came out with it. And then this right here, a little bit of thread lock on that. So I thread lock that, and then of course these four here, which already had it. So this is everything for the rear part of the case. This part was really, really simple. Now let me get set up, but the next thing we're going to do is on the back of this. Let me flip this over here. On the back of this, we're going to put the seal in, and the seal, I actually bought the driver tool, and we will drive that seal right in. Okay, so while we're talking about seals, in the kit that I bought here, and this is the kit number, this is just the bearing and seals. I haven't addressed the synchros yet. So you get two seals. They are identical, but are they? So when you put them together, they're identical, and the hole is identical. Everything is identical, but the numbers are different. So I know you're not going to be able to see this, but this one right here says, let me do something here. No, she's just not going to do it. This camera sucks. 5547. 5547. This one over here doesn't have that. There's no 5547. But up here, it's like a 5347. I mean, unless my eyes are deceiving me, I think that's a 5347. So what I did was, I haven't removed the other one, but the one that I removed out of this, when you go to it, Let me find it. Yep. What does that say? 5347. 5347. So we're going to put the same number that came out, but I'm telling you, this one, and we'll go back to the other one, is 5547. I'm telling you, without using a micrometer or a dial indicator, they're identically the same. But obviously, they're different numbers. So make sure you match the number of the seal with the number of the seal. And I couldn't even begin to tell you why they're different. All right, so let me get set up and prepped. I got to put this on the tripod. We're going to clean out. You can see I have a little bit of that lubricant. We're going to clean all that out. We may, man, I don't know if I should use that lubricant on this or if I should do a dab of silicone. It's rubber edged, so I think it will seal. But just, okay, hang on. Okay, so I got the seal there. I use a real teeny weeny amount. You know what? Don't use anesthesia if you don't want to, but I'm a fan. Now, these little nipples on the bearing, you can see little nipples. They go inside this ridge here, so it's like really, it like indexes itself. And then I am going to gently drive this seal in. And that is perfectly flush. And then I'm going to wipe that off a little bit. That is the seal, perfectly flush. Now, you know what I noticed? The main bearings, right? Does that look sealed to you? These bearings look like they're sealed to me, which is interesting because you would think these bearings would lubricate from the oil, but I don't know. I wonder if these are sealed. That's a good question. Here's the old one, and it's the same way. They just appear to be a sealed bearing. And this main bearing here feels fine. Japan, NTN. But yeah, I don't know. But they seem sealed to me. All right, so that's that. I know we're gonna lube this up, and we're gonna do all that when we assemble. So you got this in the back of the case. You have this bearing in. I lubricated it. This is in and it's lubricated. This is sealed. I mean, these are thread locked. You know, when I put things together, I talk myself through a mental checklist. So in, and this bolt is thread locked. This one right here, thread locked. This one's pressed flush, flat side up. This is the step side of this main bearing is up, which allows these keepers to index the step. These four are indexed. Everything is tightened with the seal. So that's it. That is the completion of the back half of the case. You know what? Honestly, it was pretty simple. Nothing crazy other than to remove this POS. Man, I haven't been whooped like that in a long time. And I have a lot of tools. And I was to the point where I was going to weld a plate on it and then pull it out. I mean, I was fixing to get stupid. But I'm really careful with my cutter. And what I use is, I used to be an aviation mechanic. And I have this made by Sioux Tools and this little cutoff wheel. And I just scored and scored and scored, kind of like I'm operating, and I split that bearing. That's how I relieve the pressure to get the thing out. I hope you have a lot better luck than what I had. All right, that's it. Have an amazing weekend. Stay well. Bye.